Hey, good morning. Another beautiful morning here in the great city of Indianapolis with actually a higher murder rate than anything going on in Chicago. But hey, look, you get a Democratic-run city, that's what you get. I just saw an ad. The only reason I said that was somebody, C. Fitch, one of my guys on Twitter, just showed me there is a billboard that says that right here off the highway in the great city of Indianapolis. Hey, I got a lot to get to today. I'm going to tell you, I think Baker Mayfield's going to resurrect his career, and he's going to start. NFL defensive coordinators call certain players ambient players. Now, yesterday, the ESPN guy, Jeremy Fowler, put out his top 10 quarterbacks, and he based it on GMs and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm putting out my top 5 ambient quarterbacks, my top 5 ambient wide receivers. Those of you that don't know, Ambien puts you to sleep because you can't sleep. You got to take Ambien when you're playing against these guys. You see what I did there? Do you see what I did there? So Ambien players are the kind of players that you can't sleep the night before if you're a head coach or you are a coordinator. So you got to take Ambien. We'll get into all of that. I got some stories you won't believe about people finding stuff. But first, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we have known in the great city of Indianapolis for a long time. The Indianapolis Star is a completely biased, run by children because of budgetary cuts, rag. And back in the day when Maria Kwiatkowski, Tim Evans, and Mark Alicia were involved with the Indy Star, they did good things. They did things like break the story of Larry Nassar and the United States of America gymnastics scandal. They did those things, but budget cuts and then bad leadership have led them to be just another biased POS. And you know what POS is. It's not worth reading. Well, America got to see what I've been telling you for the last few years, that the Indianapolis Star is the worst newspaper in America. In fact, it's so bad that they try a bait and switch on you. They do one of these deals where they get their little writer, Greg Doyle. He's in what we used to call a girl's bike with a basket and a dog, and he's trying to show his arms, and he's trying to give away the Indianapolis Star for $1 for the year, something like that. Well, if you read the fine print, it costs you a fortune after a certain amount of time. It's the old bait and switch, and that's what they've come down to, and that's who they are. Well, yesterday, the world got to see via Fox, Jesse Waters, and others what the Indianapolis Star is all about, and it's pure evil. Do you remember the story about the 10-year-old girl who Joe Biden said had to go across state lines from Ohio to Indiana? Well, let's play what Joe Biden had to say. Can we, please? Let's play Biden's piece. Do we not have it?
Imagine horror. It's already happening. Just last week, it was reported that a 10-year-old girl was a rape victim in Ohio. 10 years old. And she was forced to have to travel out of the state to Indiana to seek to terminate the presidency and maybe save her life. That's last part is my judgment. 10 years old. 10 years old. Raped, 6 weeks pregnant. Already traumatized. Was forced to travel to another state. Imagine being that little girl. I'm serious. Just imagine being that little girl. 10 years old. Does anyone believe that it's Ohio's majority view that that should not be able to be dealt with? Or in any other state in the nation? A 10-year-old girl should be forced to give birth to a rapist's child? I can tell you what I don't. I can't think of anything that's much more extreme.
Turns out it's all a hoax. A hoax. Turns out it's not true. Turns out there are laws in the state of Ohio that would cover that. Turns out that our newspaper, the Indianapolis Star, put something together that literally wasn't true. And our dummy in chief here decided that without checking, without verifying, that he was going to talk about it. It'd be the worst story ever, right? Except that it's not true. Now, let's hear from the Attorney General of the state of Ohio about that story. Oh, I'm sorry. I think this is a reporter. Go ahead. This is a reporter.
Looking into this, a police report was filed?
Not a whisper. And we work closely with we have a decentralized law enforcement system in Ohio, but we have regular contact with prosecutors and local police and sheriffs. Not a whisper anywhere. Something maybe even more telling, Jesse, is my office runs the state crime lab. Any case like this, you're going to have a rape kit, you're going to have biological evidence, and you would be looking for DNA analysis, which we do most of the DNA analysis in Ohio. There is no case request for analysis that looks anything like this.
Yeah, and if it's a family member, then it's even an easier way to find the DNA right there. You just call the father, the uncle, the grandfather, anything, and you get the guy's DNA and you lock him up. It's also a crime to hide child rape. Isn't it against the law if you have a 10-year-old girl come in? Obviously, she's not of the age of consent. They have to report that to law enforcement, and if they don't, that abortion doctor or any doctor should be prosecuted in your state, correct?
That's correct. Now, the doctor in Indiana isn't in our jurisdiction, obviously. We don't know who the originating doctor in Ohio was, if they even exist. But the bottom line is it is a crime if you're a mandated reporter to fail to report. It's also the fact that in Ohio, the rape of a 10-year-old means life in prison. I know our prosecutors and cops in this state. There's not one of them that wouldn't be turning over every rock in their jurisdiction if they had the slightest hint that this had occurred there.
Looking into this?
Well, what happened is there's a lady here in Indianapolis that told a reporter here in Indianapolis, and that reporter and the Indy Star went with the story. They went with the story without apparently checking out anything about the story. The Indy Star is our newspaper here, and the Indy Star did not check the story. So they just went with the story, at least as it sits here right now. And numerous people, including Angela Ganote from Fox 59, have tried to get to the Indiana State Board of Health and their records, and there's no record of this. There's no record of this. In fact, there's no law in Ohio. It's a heartbeat law in Ohio. It's not 6 weeks. And the fact of the matter is, this, as we sit here right now, is completely made up by the Indy Star. Well, not made up by the Indy Star. The Indy Star did not check any of their sources. They believed one lady. Now, here's what's going to happen. What you all know, or what we all have been telling you about the Indy Star and other newspapers, you now know. And it's not a matter of whether the Indy Star is going to apologize. Keep that up there for a minute, will you please? It's not a matter of whether the Indy Star will apologize for anything. That really doesn't matter. You're never going to see that. In fact, I'm going through, the Indy Star hasn't even acknowledged any of it, and they won't. You see on our screen the Indianapolis Star 1.4 rating, and it's because of a number of things. One, you can't get your newspaper. Two, well, frankly, the reporting is awful. It is biased. I've been a victim of it myself. And I've gone through, like they have said that I called the kid a meth head, high school kid. And I offered the reporter $10,000 if she could name the kid. Of course, she couldn't, but they write it as if that's what I did. So, you get a kick out of it in a certain way, how awful these people are. Sherry Radovsky is the writer. Now, when you look at old Sherry's Twitter account, she doesn't say anything about it. She got nothing. She's worried about who's vaxxed. She's the health medicine writer for the Indy Star, hater of cutesy Twitter bio descriptions. She got nothing. What she did was she took the word of a abortion activist doctor, went with the story. The Star, of course, did, and the Star ran it. Biden, being Biden, and the idiots around him being idiots, didn't check on it. And next thing you know, Jesse Waters and everyone in America knows that this story doesn't look to be so true. When the Attorney General starts getting after it, but this is just another gaffe for Biden, and it's another one for the Star. There will be no, oh man, we will retract this. If you in a public world made such an egregious mistake, the little shavers at the Indy Star would be circling. In my world, it'd be the little columnist Greg Doyle and the little writer Dana Hunsaker, Benbow Hunsaker, whatever the hell her name is. Oh, they'd be all over it. They couldn't wait. But when they screw up, and they do it all of the time, you never hear nothing, do you? But what you do know is every single person in the United States knows that when you see an Indianapolis Star article, you know it's complete crap. And I did that with the articles that they've done with me. I've said, no, that's not true. No, that's slanted that way. That's not accurate. But hey, that's the world we live in, right? We live in a world where newspapers, writers, reporters, and now even the president can say whatever the hell they want without consequence. Hell, the president's, who's that press secretary that's messing around or in a relationship with the CNN gal, whatever the press secretary's name is, she's telling us this is the best economy we've ever seen. You can just say whatever. I got the greatest head of hair you've ever seen, and I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. What the Indy Star is doing right now is they're like, yeah, it'll blow over. Because they have no integrity. They don't. They have no integrity. I know the people there. They have none. Zero, zip, nada. They got a story from an abortion activist. Their health reporter wrote it. That idiot right there, the guy with his arms crossed, who doesn't know where the hell he is, went with the story and did what politicians do. The difference between politicians and a guy like Trump or regular people is they're always trying to tug at you. They're not trying to tell you the truth. They're trying to tug at you. Do you think when this finally, and it already kind of has been confirmed, do you think at all that you'll see Biden say he made a mistake? Do you think you'll see, hey, look, we turned out that story wasn't exactly true? Do you think you'll see the Indy Star? Of course not. But it just goes to the world we live in. It just does. When you're on the right side, when you're on the liberal side of the world that we live in, it is literally as simple as this. You can get away with anything. You can get away with so egregiously wrong like the Indy Star did, or so egregiously wrong like that clown right there did. You can tell us anything, and we're all just supposed to say yes. Hell, Tiger Woods just did it. I'll get into that here at 10 o'clock. Tiger Woods just completely showed himself to be a hypocrite. I'll get into that at 10 o'clock. I know we're not supposed to do that, right? We're not supposed to say a guy like Tiger Woods is a hypocrite, but he's a freaking hypocrite. We'll get into that. We're all hypocrites. You know, we all have we all do things wrong. But when we do things wrong, the general public, boy, Big Brother's right there, right? The Indy Star's right there. The USA Today's right there. The Chicago Tribune's right. But let them screw up. What happens? Just don't buy their crap. Don't subscribe. Hey, can you put that thing up one more time? I know I'm going a little long here. Can you put that deal up about the Indy Star and their reviews? If you want to laugh, if you want to know how people really feel, not people in the media talking about other media guys, that's it. Can't get a delivery. Can't get a delivery. That's it. I mean, customer service, terrible. The writing, they'll get into it. If you go to Facebook and you look at the sponsored article or promoted ad for the Indy Star with Greg Doyle in a little, what used to be a girl's bag, I don't know what you call it now, in a basket, you'll see. You read the comments. Biased, horrible. But that guy right there took the Indy Star at its word. And once again, there will be no consequence. There will just simply be, we'll move on. And you're seeing it already. Go to anybody that works for the Indy Star right now. Go to they want everybody held accountable. Coaches and players. Everybody except them. They're the worst in the country. Dodger Stadium workers are threatening to walk out. Dodger Stadium workers are saying, hey, look, for the All-Star game, we need better. We need better. We need better stuff. We need better conditions. We need more money. And they're right. We have always taken for granted things. We've always taken for granted minor league players. We've always taken for granted people that work in concessions. We've always taken for granted. Listen to this. The food and beverage workers at Dodger Stadium, 99% voted to strike. 99%. And this is a company owned by Levy Restaurants. Now, Levy Restaurants out of Chicago, they own a lot. They do. It represents 1,500 food servers, bartenders, suite attendants, cooks, and dishwashers. They seek a fair new union contract. They are the backbone of our tourism and sports industry. Many struggle to stay housed and to make ends meet. They live with economic uncertainty because the quality of jobs varies stadium to stadium. No worker should have to continue to live like this. And of course, the NFL or the Major League Baseball PA stands in solidarity. Yeah, how about giving some of your money to concession workers? How about that? I mean, you're taking all the money. You're making $40 million a year. How about, instead of we stand with you, thoughts and prayers, blah, 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 blah. How about some of you baseball players give some money to the concession workers? How about some of you basketball players and you unions, instead of standing with them, how about you do something for them? That's what I see. How about you do something for them instead of stand with them? What are you standing with them? So if they go on strike, you going on strike? Shoot, you ain't losing that money. You crazy? Who you talking to? Pull this. It plays Jingle Bells. We stand with you. Uh-huh. Sure you do. Me too. All the way from Indianapolis. We stand with you. Give them $1 million. Spread it around. 1,100, 1,500 people. Come up with $1 million, Players Association. Spread that around a little bit. $1 million a year to every, not to every worker, but $1 million a year spread out among 1,200 people. Not a bad deal. $2 million, $5 million. Or you can stand with them. Because, standing with them. All right, Baker Mayfield got traded to Carolina. Baker Mayfield is going to be in a battle with Sam Darnold. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. You can tell a lot about somebody by their face. Do they have a punchable face? Sam Darnold has a punchable face. I'm sorry. Sam Darnold has the kind of head that's never going to make him to be a champion. Now, Baker Mayfield has a punchable mouth. But Baker Mayfield has a competitive face. You all don't understand that. Coaches understand it. Baker Mayfield can't have success. Baker Mayfield, when he gets success, has to do something to circumvent it. I understand this totally. So he beats Ohio State back in college. He's got to run and stick a flag into the heart of the O. He's got to that's what he's got to do. Success doesn't help him. He has the chip on the shoulder. I got to fight for something face. That's his face. So Baker Mayfield is now in a situation where he gets traded to Carolina, and he and Sam Darnold are going to go battle it out. Advantage Baker Mayfield? Because his face. Face reflects many, many times, not all the time, nothing's 100%, but your approach, your attitude. And Mayfield has that approach, that attitude that I'm going to kick your backside and I'm going to do it every single day when I'm down and out. Now, when I get named the starter, if I have a few good games, then it's all going to be different. Then my face and my mouth are going to override what I'm really about. And he may have a problem if, in fact, he does win the job. However, Baker Mayfield may have learned from his mistakes. And if he does, remember, he's a number one pick. He's that kind of good, deep down. Then Carolina got him something. Remember Andrew Wiggins, number one pick? All of a sudden, he goes to Golden State, fits in an operation, learn from past mistakes. Next thing you know, boom. You could damn near made the argument that if it wasn't for Steph Curry, well, you could make the argument. Not Mitchell Wiggins, that's his dad, Andrew Wiggins, is the MVP of the NBA Finals and was as important a guy. Number one draft choices in major leagues have real talent. Not fake talent, real talent, with a couple notable exceptions. Mayfield has real talent. Got to get back to having that chip on his shoulder, which I think he will do because he's got to compete for a job. And let's be honest, got to play better in the fourth quarter. I mean, if he's not going to play better in the fourth quarter, he's wasting my time and your time. But you know what? I think he will. Hey, when in doubt, bring in Condoleezza Rice. That's what the NCAA did. Condoleezza Rice chaired a committee or sat on a committee that did absolutely nothing, but they had Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice and Grant Hill. When you need something, bring them in. When in doubt, bring in Condoleezza. Hey, wait, we need somebody else on this board. Bring in Condoleezza. She's smart, covers us with diversity. She got some money. Bring her in. I remember the NCAA did that. They had this big committee. Oh, man, we're going to change basketball. We're bringing in generals, Grant Hill, Condoleezza Rice. They did nothing. So now, well, the Denver Broncos ownership, we need somebody. Condoleezza Rice. I get a kick out of it. I do. The world of Grant Hill and Condoleezza Rice is awesome. Hey, when in doubt, bring them in. We need somebody on the board, bring them in. We need somebody to be an analyst, bring Grant in. Nice guy, great guy. And by all accounts, so is Condoleezza Rice. Hell, even in the TV show, one of my favorite TV shows, 30 Rock, what do? They bring in Condoleezza Rice. They did. Jack Donaghy was dating Condoleezza Rice. Did Happy Gilmore have Condoleezza Rice? What movie had Condoleezza Rice in? When in doubt, baby, bring in Condoleezza. So now Condoleezza is a member of the Denver Broncos ownership group. Of course she is. Hell yeah. I'd like to get Condoleezza Rice on this show. I think she's a fascinating, great woman. But I'm telling you, man, you got something going on? Hey, we need somebody. Condoleezza Rice. Grant Hill. Grant Hill's running USA Basketball. After sitting on a committee that did less than what my top of my head of hair is doing. Nothing. Zero. Zip. But bring them in. Come on. We need somebody. It's like that little kid in your neighborhood that you always knew would play. All right, go get Jimmy. He'll always play. And he comes running over. Hey, I'm here, guys. Condoleezza Rice is the best. Seriously. Awesome. Love me some Condoleezza Rice. All right. So she's part of the ownership group of the Denver Broncos. Now, I don't mean to sound like I am negative on it. I think it's great. I think it's funny. I think it's awesome. It's a great way to be. I want to be the guy that everybody brings in. Hey, you want to be a part of owning the Bears? Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to give him money. You just look the part. Okay. You don't have to give any money. People just like you. And you add value by people liking you and you having a name. That's what I want to be. That's the goal. As my friend Mark Packer said, the goal of every American worker should be don't work, get paid. I don't know whether she's not, I don't know whether she's getting paid or not. But, man, It's good to be Condoleezza. Jack Donaghy, 30 Rock, dating who? Condoleezza Rice. I love it. It's one of the funniest things going to me. All right. The LIV Tour. The LIV Tour and the PGA Tour have been going brass knuckles, right? The LIV Tour starts this up, and we'll get into this about Tiger Woods coming up. But the LIV Tour guess what? They started giving money to players. They started giving guaranteed money. Well, the PGA Tour said, well, we're suspending you. You can't do it, but we're taking away your world ranking points. Well, the U.S. Department of Justice is now investigating the PGA Tour, and this comes from the agents. Now, I don't know, when agents get involved, it's a little like when the Indianapolis Star gets involved. You don't really believe it. But according to player agents who have been contacted by Department of Justice officials, it's focused on the PGA Tour's actions regarding official world rankings, warnings it has issued to players who were contemplating joining LIV, and suspensions that have been levied. The Tour says we expected that. They went through this in 1994. They have launched an investigation into PGA Tour, and one agent said they wanted to know if my client would be willing to participate in a confidential and voluntary interview. They wanted to ask him about his interactions with the Tour. Basically, what they're saying is the PGA Tour is not allowing open competition. Look, I don't know. It seems to me that the PGA Tour is not allowing outside competition. But in 1994, the Federal Trade Commission investigated whether the Tour had violated federal laws by requiring its members to get permission to play in outside tours. And the end of the inquiry was, and I'm being literal here, nothing. There was no punishment. There was nothing. So, at the end of the day, we'll see where this goes. But it is interesting. I think it is. I think people kind of expected the Department of Justice or the legal side of it to go against the LIV Tour, and we did that because we thought, well, the Saudis are involved. This will be a problem. No, it's against the PGA Tour, and I think that's interesting. I think that's something to watch because it seems to me that the folks that are running the LIV Tour have a bottomless supply of money, a bottomless supply of energy, and a bottomless supply of stick-to-itness. They're going to stick to what it is that they want. They're going to say, hey, look, we're not in budget. We're going to add more. And I got to tell you, it is fascinating. It is. All right, we come back. I got 5 ambient quarterbacks. Now, these aren't the best quarterbacks, but these are the quarterbacks that keep a coordinator up at night. And 5 ambient wide receivers. Now, wide receivers is interesting because there's a ton of them out there. Quarterbacks, I don't know. Like Kirk Cousins doesn't keep you up at night. You got to play against Kirk Cousins. Matt Ryan doesn't keep you up at night. You got to play against Matt Ryan. Tannehill, he don't keep you up at night. Who are yours? Go to our YouTube chat. Who are your ambient? Meaning I need to take ambient as a defensive coordinator to sleep the night before I play him. We'll be right back. I like our YouTube chat. The Live Tour needs Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice, man. Oh, man. You need somebody that fits perfectly. All right. Ambien. Never taken it. Why? I always hear that people have bad dreams. My brother took it. A lot of people take it. I don't take it. I should take it. I don't sleep very well. But I learned last night if I don't drink pop, I sleep better. So there you go. All right, let's go. Top 5 Ambien quarterbacks. You ready? Ba-ba-da-ba. Number 5, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is an Ambien quarterback. Now, he's not number 1. A lot of people think that the Buffalo Bills will win the AFC, and they might. I don't think so. I don't think so. But Josh Allen keeps you up at night more so than give me a guy, give me a name. I don't know. I was going to make a Zach Wilson joke, but I decided not to. Anyway, Josh Allen, you're going to see a lot of this in this list. When you play against a guy like Josh Allen, here's what you're playing against. You're playing against a guy that can pass, right? You're playing against a guy that is now starting to figure out what in the hell he's supposed to do with the football before the snap. Now, remember, I said before the snap. The trait of any good quarterback, as we have all learned now that we all are QB aficionados, is to know what you are going to do with the pelota before you make that final hut. Well, Josh Allen's really improved. Here's a problem with Josh Allen. Remember when Ben Roethlisberger was keeping plays alive, guys would fall off him, he would be looking downfield, a guy would come, he would get him off of him and still complete a pass. Keeping plays alive was what Ben Roethlisberger did. You're going to see this year that's going to be Josh Allen's new thing. He will be the new Ben Roethlisberger because he's 6'5", about 240 pounds of all muscle. Now, I don't like his eyes. I didn't like his eyes when he competed against Mahomes and Brady and Rodgers playing golf. He looked happy to be there. He's got a terrific team around him. I don't like his eyes. You guys like his eyes. I hope I'm wrong. Clip this. Come back at me. I hope I'm wrong. But I could see as we sit here right now, Josh Allen always kind of faltering. He didn't falter last. It was great. He just got beat last year. We get it. Too much time to Mahomes, and okay, fine. But the truth of the matter is, Josh Allen, because of how he runs, because of how big he is the ultimate keep play alive guy. All right, number 4, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is 672 years old. Tom Brady is, well, maybe the most feared quarterback in the league in terms of passing the football, in terms of clutch. You talk about knowing where to go before the ball is snapped. Well, there it is, right there. He is the ultimate guy. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, the two guys that study it, live it, love it, know it, figure it out better than anybody in the history of football before the ball is snapped. And that's the only reason Tom Brady is in the top 5. Because Tom Brady can't move. Tom Brady isn't a guy that's going to extend plays. He can move it around the pocket a little bit. He can dance and do some things. But Tom Brady is probably not the guy that keeps you up with anything other than him figuring you out. So he's in the top 4. There's 32 teams. I got a friend of mine from the NFL, because I wear this shirt all the time, just sent me a text, and that shirt probably walks itself to the fan studios after this show. He's right. But anyway, Tom Brady is not going to knock guys off. Tom Brady's going to drop. This is how good Tom Brady is. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, right? But this is how good Tom Brady is with really nothing other than his arm. Tom Brady is still the most dangerous passer in the league. He is. If you were going to line up one guy to make passes, I'm getting Tom Brady. You can only pass. You couldn't, nothing else. You could only drop back and pass. There was nobody allowed to move in the pocket. You know, you could step up or step 2 steps either way. I'd take Tom Brady. Still throws a beautiful ball. Puts it right there. Can put it in a thimble. That makes him an ambient guy. That makes him number 4, but he's not number 1. Because number 1, which is coming, is going to be, you guys are going to be like, yeah, that's crap. He's not it. He is. All right, let's go through this. Number 3, are you ready? Aaron Rodgers. Simple. Aaron Rodgers is the guy that everybody wants to have on their team. Here's why. Aaron Rodgers is unaffected by the weather. Josh Allen may be unaffected by the weather, but he doesn't have the length. He doesn't have the longevity of what Aaron Rodgers has. Think about this. Think about all the greatness of Aaron Rodgers, right? And then think about all the greatness of Peyton Manning. Where'd Peyton Manning play? Peyton Manning played in the Dome. Peyton Manning played in the South. Peyton Manning played where? Tennessee, Jacksonville, Houston. Peyton Manning did all those things with half of his games, more than half of his games actually, played in ideal conditions. Think about Aaron Rodgers. You know, you go into a game and you're like, man, I hope it's wet so Tom Brady doesn't throw it as well. Or I hope it's snowing like hell when Tom Brady goes to Chicago. What kind of weather do you want when it comes to Aaron Rodgers? I honestly believe Aaron Rodgers could play football with a martini in his hand. What is he like? Scotch. He's got a nice scotch, a nice Scotty in his hand. And he's dropping back. He's taking a sip. Get away from that. I swear to God, he's the Dean Martin of quarterbacks. If you don't know who Dean Martin is, look him up. But he is. He's the Dean Martin. He's cooler than cool. And you can't find a piece of weather that is ever going to affect him. Nothing. He's played in the worst. Snow up to here? Shovel it, I'll throw it. Cold. I mean, have you ever been like to Wisconsin in the winter? The only place in the world that I have been, and I've been to Alaska, that's colder than Wisconsin in the winter is Iowa City, Iowa, or Coriopolis. Coldest I've ever been. There's a Marriott that we all used to stay at. Coriopolis is a little town next to Iowa City, and everybody stays at the Marriott. At least they did, I don't know. And I remember walking from my car, which was in a garage, I don't know, 100 yards to the front door is the coldest I've ever been on New Year's Day. And I've been 22 below in Anchorage, Alaska. Not Anchorage, Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska. Green Bay, Wisconsin is that kind of cold. Does Aaron Rodgers care? No. That makes him an ambient guy. Let me ask you a question. Do you rush him up the middle like you do Brady? I don't know. Do you rush him from the sides? I don't know. I'm serious. Like Brady, everybody knows, Peyton Manning, you got to have middle pressure on them because they're not going to really be all that mobile outside the pocket running, right? Well, middle pressure, that's great against Rodgers. He just finds a crease, drinks his scotch, fires it downfield, and away we go. It's really fascinating. No, it really is. Because he has done it better than 99% of the quarterbacks in NFL history. In the history of the NFL, no one's done it better, except for maybe a couple guys. And he's done it in the worst weather. Fran Tarkenton was like that, but Fran wasn't as good as Rodgers. It was a different era. But how about a little respect? Josh Allen's going to have to do that. And we'll see. Josh Allen's certainly capable. All right, numero dos. Number 2 is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes got a little bit of Rodgers in him. Patrick Mahomes, I feel like, well, he's got a lot of Rodgers in him, actually, in 2 different ways. I feel like Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys, again, that can play with a scotch. Sammy Davis, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, you know, all those, the Rat Pack guys back in the day. They're singing. You know, Sammy's got a cigar. Dean's got a scotch sitting on a table. They're singing. They're walking around. You know, Mahomes is kind of like Frank Sinatra. he's kind of the gangsta leader. Frank Sinatra drinking a scotch, looking at Sammy. Sammy pointing at him, and they're singing. Sammy's unbuttoning his tie. Dino's looking at the girls with his, good looks. That's what these guys are. They're modern day Rat Pack, and I'll go with Sinatra. I'll give him Sinatra because, look, Patrick Mahomes to me is not only the Sinatra of the NFL, he's also the Steph Curry of the NFL. He plays like he's having a blast. He just plays. No look, shoo. Behind the back, what do you need? A little something under the arm? He does anything and everything to get the ball to his receiver. He does. Not the greatest runner, but not a bad runner. Again, a lot like Rodgers. When Mahomes gets cooking, and a lot of people think Mahomes had a bad year like last year. Maybe he did by Mahomes standards. I don't know. And without Tyreek Hill, we'll see what happens. I think Tyreek Hill's a huge loss. He shows up big in my ambient wide receivers. But the truth of the matter is, Mahomes a killer. I think he's an absolute killer. I do. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, he wants a new contract. I don't blame him. He's done all the little childish things that you do. I'm changing my Instagram. I'm putting a new header on my Twitter page. Oh, okay. Great. That's what he does. I wish he wouldn't do that because there's nobody in the NFL that I like watching more than Lamar Jackson. I remember when our good friend Grandpa Bill Pulley had said Lamar Jackson should be a running back or a wide receiver. And I remember thinking, look, Mr. Polian, we all have to call him Mr. Polian, you're a Hall of Famer, but that's idiotic. I watched that dude play at Louisville, and I got to tell you, I'd make him my quarterback immediately. I said it at the time on my radio show. I said it on ESPN, and I'll say it today. If you were going to give me one quarterback, I'll take Lamar Jackson. I just will. I love watching that dude play. I don't consider him like a Rat Pack guy. I consider him just the most ambient-like quarterback in the league. Why? Well, we know he can throw it. A lot of people say he's not that accurate. All I got to do is tell you, whenever I see him throw, he's pretty damn accurate to me. He throws it in interesting conditions. Remember, he plays in Baltimore. He's got to go where? Cincinnati? It ain't warm in Cincinnati most times. Pittsburgh can be awful in Pittsburgh. Cleveland, are you kidding me? That lake not only is on fire, but when that wind blows, it's colder than hell. And Lamar Jackson runs like the best running back in the league. Reminds me of Le'Veon Bell as a running back. Kind of takes his time, looks, finds the hole, boom. Next thing you know, he's gone. You come at him. The only thing about Lamar Jackson is you obviously worry about Lamar Jackson getting hurt. Nobody wants to see Lamar Jackson get hurt, certainly not me. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, all five of these guys make me nervous. It's not like playing Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is fine. It's not like playing Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is fine. Ryan Tannehill, he's fine. Jacoby Brissett, if he gets to play, fine. You all like Deshaun Watson a hell of a lot more than I like Deshaun Watson, so I don't put Deshaun Watson on this list. I've watched him in the AFC South for years just lose games. Well, you don't understand, man. He didn't have any players around him. Okay, I don't understand, man. He didn't have any players around him. What are you going to do? But I know this. I've watched Deshaun Watson, and I ain't all that with Deshaun Watson. Period. So anyway, that's kind of how I look at it. Mateo Rodrigo says, how is Lamar Jackson better than these other four dudes? What is up with this dude? Well, you don't understand the premise, Mateo. It's not that they're better. It's that they keep you up at night. They keep you up at night. Not that they're better. And I know it's hard for people to understand that. But the truth of the matter is they keep you up at night. These five keep you up. And the guy that keeps you up the most on how to stop him is Lamar Jackson. Ask any defensive coordinator. I have. There's a difference between the best quarterbacks in the league and the ones that keep you up at night the most. Because they can go ahead and win a game by themselves in a variety of ways. So anyway, that's my list. Now let's move along. Mateo, I hope you understand that. It's hard, but, Spice Rack says Lamar can't read a defense to save his soul. Really? All right. Yeah, I love when people say stuff. There's two things I love about fans. He can't read a defense. And the coach didn't make adjustments. So I always ask, what adjustment? The only person that's ever come through when I've asked him that is my buddy Cam Safali. Cameron Safali played football at DePaul. He's a big Colts fan. And when I asked him, all right, he said something about adjustments. I asked him one Colts game. Man, he gave me 5. And I'm like, all right, you win. You win. What do you want me to tell you? You win. There's a lot of ambient wide receivers out there. Now, I'll try to slow it down for you, Rodrigo, but ambient wide receivers, same thing. Oh, man, we got to stop this guy. God, we got to stop him. We have to stop him. It's keeping me up at night. We got to stop. Number 5 on the hit list for ambient wide receivers, ladies and gentlemen. Number 5, A.J. Brown. I saw A.J. Brown in person with the Titans. Tennessee Titans. With the Titans. I saw him in person, damn near from the wide receiver position, bring the Titans back against the Colts a few years ago. I don't know if it was a Thursday night or Monday. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was a night game. I watched him play, and I thought to myself, damn, this dude has great hands, fantastic size, faster than hell, and you're going to see a theme among all of these guys. Now, for those of us that root for a team in the AFC South, and I root for the Colts in the AFC South, the truth of the matter is, regardless of whether you made a good draft choice or a bad draft choice day one of the NFL draft, and the Colts did not have a draft choice day one, the Tennessee Titans getting rid of A.J. Brown won the draft for the Colts, Jacksonville, and Houston. It absolutely won the draft, getting that guy out of the league. That's how good he is. The second guy is DK Metcalf. Look, DK Metcalf, were I a quarterback, I'd say, all right, how do you stop him? He's really fast. He's really big. He's really strong. He runs good routes. Here's what you do. The only reason I don't have DK Metcalf up higher is because I think DK Metcalf is starting to move into diva wide receiver range. Don't do it, DK, baby. DK Metcalf made the one play that every coach in America, whether you're baseball or football or basketball or hockey or soccer, whether you're high school or college or junior college, whatever it is, when he chased that guy down the sidelines, went 90 yards, hustled, and made the play after the fumble, that play is shown to every kid in America. DK, I'm begging you, don't deviate from that. That's who your legacy could be. Yes, you could win Super Bowls. Yes, you could become All-Pro. Yes, you could do all those things because of your talent. But that play, that singular play, will be DK Metcalf's legacy. And if you don't think so, you're not paying attention. Don't become a diva. You're too damn good. Be a great dude. That's a Super Bowl champ. You will be an All-Pro with that play. And I don't know, you'll be remembered forever. Forever. And I mean ever. All right, this is interesting. Devonte Adams is number 3. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Same reason that I talked about Aaron Rodgers. Same reason that I put Aaron Rodgers up ahead of a few others, maybe ahead of Joe Burrow, ahead of other people, because Aaron Rodgers did it in the snow, in the cold for a number of years. So is Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams now gets a chance to go to Oakland. He plays basically all of his games either in domes or in warm weather. Devonte Adams showed what he could do when it was freezing cold, when every defense was loaded up against him. He's a great wide receiver. Not good, he's great. And Devonte Adams, as I said, did it under the worst of conditions. Now, It's on Derek Carr. Devonte Adams also had the benefit of playing with a guy, Aaron Rodgers, who's one of, in the conversation of the all-time best. He's in that conversation. So, who's it on? Is it on Devonte Adams or is it on Derek Carr? They were teammates in college. They know one another. You know, Devonte Adams did not have to leave Green Bay to go to Oakland. He chose. Now it's on him to do it. And I expect Devonte Adams, without having to deal with the cold, without having to deal with playing in all those places like Soldier Field, where it is so freaking cold, it is so ridiculous on the lake, and I expect Devonte Adams to become even better. He's already great. I move him into my top 3 ambient wide receivers. Let's see. Yeah, Bubba Baker. Yeah. Now, people are saying to me, and this is true, let me go back to DK Metcalf. Doesn't have a quarterback to throw to him. I know. That's why DK Metcalf isn't higher. Anyway. All right. Let's go to number 2, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is, well, he's the best wide receiver in the league. I mean, the numbers say it. It's off the charts. You know, all of a sudden now with Stafford, he's become even better. You saw it in the Super Bowl when he was needed in the second half. You see it every time they play. I mean, the numbers are stupid, right? The numbers are idiotic. The guy can go do whatever it is he wants to do. He can do it on the football field. He can get open against whoever you want. He can get open against coverages. He's a brilliant guy, catches everything, runs fast, all that kind of stuff. He's an ambient guy for a variety of reasons, which you should be an ambient guy for a variety of reasons. And one of those reasons is the fact that he's always open. So if I'm sitting there and I'm at my desk and I've got film and I'm looking at the monitor and I'm watching Cooper Kupp and I'm looking at different defenses that people are running. I'm seeing too high. I'm seeing press coverage. I'm seeing double teams. And then, you know what? I'm seeing him still get open. That's an ambient guy. Well, you know, if you take your second best, this is what Bill Belichick does. He takes his second best corner, puts him on the best wide receiver, then doubles him with a safety, thus eliminating Cooper Kupp. And now I put my best corner on the other guy. That's what Bill Belichick is famous for. Did it for years, okay? Yeah, you can do that against Cooper Kupp, and he just gets open. And if you hold him for a half, then look what happened in the second half. I mean, he kills you. Absolutely kills you. He is more of an ambient guy because of how good he is against whatever you throw at him. That's it. But the number 1 ambient guy, and don't at me about it, don't even at me, is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is numero uno. Tyreek Hill, we're going to find out if Tua is any good at all. Here's what Tyreek Hill does. There is no defense for Tyreek Hill. There is none. Because, all right, we're playing a defense. Just get the ball to Hill, go. You saw it in the AFC Championship game, did you not? You saw it in the AFC semifinal. You see it all the time. All of a sudden, you think the game's going on. Tyreek Hill gets the ball. Next thing you know, gone. You always worry about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is numero uno at stretching the defense. He stretches the defense better than any single person in the NFL. And then he stretches the defense once he's already stretched the defense because he's running, and you can't go towards Tyreek Hill. You can't go towards him. If he's coming and you go towards him, he's past you. You got to get out here. You got to take all kind of angles. I'm telling you, Tyreek Hill is incredible. He is by far the number 1 ambient guy. And it is close. It's certainly close. It's 100% close. But the truth of the matter is, Tyreek Hill is always on your mind. Always. It's like in basketball. I don't care what level you're playing. if you're the guy is always on, the best player on the other team is always on your mind. He just is. You're waiting, you're thinking, you're hoping it doesn't happen. You're like, oh man, what's going to happen here? No. Are we okay? Man, I don't know. Can we? Okay, yeah, we can. Yeah, we can do it. Yeah. I'm telling you, Tyreek Hill, numero uno. And don't at me about it. I know there's other people. I know there's a bunch of other dudes. I know there's a lot. Don't at me. Because frankly, I ain't listening. Tyreek Hill's a bad mamma jamma and a very exciting girl. But anyway, that's the fact, Jack. If Tyreek Hill plays on your team, you always think you have a chance to score. I don't care if you're on the 2, I don't care if you're on the 10, 50, 60, 80, 90, 100 yards. Tyreek Hill is the absolute best. He's incredible. Now, I don't like his backstory. I get all that. I'm not talking about that. So, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Devonte Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Tyreek Hill. Those are my 5 ambient wide receivers as you move into the league. I'll listen to you. Tell me. Go to the YouTube chat and tell me. Go to the Twitter and tell me, who are your ambient wide receivers? You know, I don't know. A lot of people think I should have put Joe Burrow as an ambient quarterback. Not yet. Not yet. Probably is. Got a new center, Teddy Karras Jr. Great center. A lot of chemistry between the two. No question. It's all good, but not yet. All right, we come back. Tiger Woods a hypocrite. Tiger Woods a hypocrite, and I got a lot of other things. There's some interesting, crazy stories for you. Warren Sharp, the smartest man in football. He's going to join us. He's got a new book out. If you don't know who Warren Sharp is, go to Twitter right now and look for Warren Sharp. The dude is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He joins us coming up at 10:30. But when we come back, Tiger Woods a damn hypocrite. And of course, I've got some crazy stories on some people finding cash. Be right back. So I saw this today, and actually I'm texting Phil Steele back. I saw this today. It happened, I guess, this morning. 6 hours ahead is the British Open, and Tiger Woods, he of the hundreds of millions of dollars, is talking about how LIV players turned their back on the PGA Tour and what made them. It's interesting coming from Tiger Woods. I mean, for years, let's go through that. When you think about the PGA Tour and you think about why it's grown, Tiger Woods is the guy. Like, I'm a massive Tiger Woods fan. I am. Like, if Tiger Woods is playing, then guess what? I am watching. Okay? I am. I mean, I don't have any interest in most tournaments other than majors, but if Tiger Woods is playing, then I want to watch. And if he's in the hunt, then I really, really want to watch. And one of the things that Tiger Woods discussed, he says, look, people that play in the LIV Tour are turning their back on what made them. Well, you know, for years, Tiger Woods was the biggest jackass to fans. I mean, I know he's gotten older now, but for years, Tiger Woods turned his back on people. Like, he was the biggest jackass when it came to anybody. Now, when it's Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, that's considered chip on their shoulder and focus, right? No, it's also jackassery. Let's be honest. I think that what they've done is they've turned their back on what has allowed them to get into this position. Well, I would argue the same thing about your marriage. I would. I mean, I don't really get into people's personal life, but don't be talking about turning your back on things that got you into position. You turned your back on your fans. You turned your back on your marriage. I mean, what are you talking about? And also, let's be honest about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods got more money than God. You know, it's easy to say what others should do. He talks about, well, you know, you get a guaranteed contract. What's the incentive to practice? Well, I don't know, but I know this: in every other sport, they have guaranteed contracts. So what's the incentive for Kevin Durant to practice? What's the incentive for John Wall to practice? Name me an NBA guy, because they all have gotten guaranteed money. I mean, I don't know why people like Tiger Woods, I get why they're saying that, because he has influence and he's doing his part to save the tour. But what these players are doing for guaranteed money, what is the incentive to practice? Well, what's the incentive for anybody to practice? What's the incentive for Tom Brady to practice? What's the incentive for Tiger Woods to practice? What's the incentive to go out there and earn it in the dirt? I don't know. You're playing in tournaments, $4 million to win a tournament. Not everybody has Tiger Woods' money. Not everyone has Tiger Woods' protection. You know, he got up there and said, I'm going to go back to my Buddhist lifestyle. Yeah, okay. Pull this, it plays Jingle Bells, right? Nobody questioned it. Nobody's got Tiger Woods' protection. Now, Tiger Woods has morphed from kind of the skeezy guy out there, you know, banging Perkins waitresses, to now the elder statesman. Well, not everybody has had Tiger Woods' success. Not everybody has Tiger Woods' desire to go out there. But they're all damn good players. Why is Kevin Durant working out in the gym? Why was Kobe Bryant always first to practice? I don't know. You tell me. They're out guaranteed money. It's just stupid. And, you know, the truth of the matter is, hey, look, don't question what somebody else does with their money. You know, Tiger Woods would get mad if there was even the slightest question about Nike. Tiger Woods has made more money off China than anybody except LeBron James or Michael Jordan. I mean, don't act all holier than thou when you have turned your back on, in your personal life and your professional life, those people that helped you and made you. But when you're at this young age, and some of these kids, they really are kids who have gone from amateur golf into that organization. 72-hole tests are part of it. We're used to have 36-hole playoffs for major championships. That's how it used to be. 18-hole U.S. Open playoffs. I don't see that move as positive in the long run for a lot of these players, especially if the LIZ organization doesn't get world ranking points and the major championships change the criteria for entering the events. Okay. Not everybody's got Tiger's money. You know what it changes? It changes their life. $150 million up front, life-changing money for not only those folks and their people. And if you don't understand that, man, you really have lost touch on what brought you. You really have lost touch on those that helped you get where you are. If you don't understand that some guy that knows he's never going to be at the level, because sometimes you just know. I knew when I first got to Indiana that I was not going to be an NBA player, so I better work my brains out to figure out how to even get on the court. There are a lot of guys like that. $5 million up front to win a tournament, $150 million to join, $100 million, $10 million, $10 million to join up front. That's good. I love when guys get older and now all of a sudden they forget how they were. Love it. Tiger Woods, my ass. LIV Tour's paying, baby. Hell, everybody's on guarantee. I was on guaranteed contract. I was on a guaranteed contract for a lot of years, man. I mean, I got a 2-year deal. What's the incentive to show up here and be enthusiastic every day? That's just stupid. That's just really stupid. But I'm not surprised. And Tiger, just try to sell his T-shirts, right? Sell his T-shirts, and don't worry about what guys that aren't quite as great as you are doing, because you'll never understand. Yeah, okay. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. All right, let's talk about, speaking of money. So you're minding your own business. You bought a house. You're not really, I don't know. You're living in New Jersey. You're doing some home reparations. And next thing you know, you look on the porch underneath, and a dude finds $1,000 in 10s and 20s from 1934. He was using a mini evacuator to remove parts of the old foundation on Friday. He saw some strange things, thought they were weeds. I picked them up, threw them aside. They went into the pile I was using for fill. It rained Saturday, and when he returned to that fill pile, the objects caught his eye. They were rolled up paper bound with rubber bands. I got to look at the edge. It had a green tint to it, and I said, this is money. It looked like mini cigars all bound up. As I broke it apart, it was money. The money was buried underneath the porch. He said it was only accessible via a crawl space. Someone had to crawl under there, dig a hole, and get some money. Listen to this. Do you know what $1,000 was worth back in 1934? I'll give you a guess. No. $20,000. They think it might have been tied to some fishy illegal activity. Really? I mean, who doesn't dig under the porch to hide the bills? If you're basically digging a hole, Breaking Bad style, to put bills in a place that is hidden, you're either A, a miser, you don't trust banks, or B, doing something nefarious. He plans to hold on to the money. He doesn't see himself spending the money. He is going to say, hey, look, this money has too good a story. And he's right. It's a great story. Look, I always think about that. Always. I mean, always. Whenever I'm digging something or doing something, I always think, man, I've heard all these stories about buried treasure, right? About something happening where, like this, they found $1,000. I've never found squat. You know how the guy has, well, I bought this painting and I was taking it out from the original frame and $1 million dropped out. Never. Have any of you ever seen? Of course not. Of course you have. None of us have. Because real people, we ain't that lucky. We wish we were that lucky, but we ain't that lucky. How about this guy? This guy, and a lot of people do this. My father used to play when he went to the track, or if he was with a bookie, play the 4 and 5 daily double. Daily double is you hit the first 2 races of the day. The daily double would be the 5. The second race would be the 4. If they hit, he won money. I don't think he ever won. I don't think he ever won. A Maryland lottery guy has picked, and this is something that a lot of you do, but I'm curious, and I'm going to go to the YouTube chat. Have you ever won any money at it? Like, a lottery player in Maryland has bought a pick 5 ticket bearing the same numbers every day since the game began earlier this year. Finally paid off. The number is 22552. It's his birthday. 22552. The man is 70 years old. So he's been doing that. As soon as pick 5 started, I knew I had to play. I always like these 5 numbers together for some reason, so I knew the game was meant for me. He was shocked when he went to Ingleside Liquors, and he turned out to be the big winner. I walked into the living room just as the pick 5 drawing was happening on TV, and I saw each number come up. The 2 2s, then the 2 5s, then the last 2. He got himself $25K. I love it. Listen to this. This is the way the world works. It's our 25th anniversary, the man said. I told her, pick out where you want to go, and I'm going to make it happen. That's how you stay married for 25 years. When you get money, you don't go to the track and double down. When you get money, you don't take a flyer on Joey Bag of Donuts in the 6th. You don't do it. I'm sorry. You say to your wife, hey, honey, I just came into a lot of scratch. Where you want to go? And wherever she says, you go for it. You just go for it. I like it. Joe Biden, we know, is an idiot. And we know his wife, Jill, isn't much better. And we know, and I don't think this is an indictment of the Bidens, that Hunter Biden doesn't like Jill. I think that's probably praise for Jill Biden, that Hunter Biden the other day, his texts were revealed. But Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are just, crazy. Now, Jill Biden tried to be cute, and she was at a Cesar Chavez day a while back, a year ago, and she messed up, and I'm going to mess it up, but I'm not paid to get it, si se puede, while standing in front of Chavez Black Eagle. She then decided that she was at the Unidos USA annual conference. Do we have the audio of this? Do we have that? I don't know if we have the audio, or maybe we just have this. But she gets out there and she says in front of folks in San Antonio, the diversity of this community as distinct as the bodegas in Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio. That is our strength. Uh-oh, I think we're losing streaming. That is our strength. What are you doing? This isn't me being upset by it. I don't really get upset by things. The National Association of Hispanic Journalists, the NAHJ, responded to the tasteless comparison. They released a statement on behalf of Hispanics that either don't identify with the most important meal of the day or see past the pandering of the Bidens. This time, it's Jill. They said the NAHJ encourages Dr. Biden and her speechwriting team to take the time in the future to better understand the complexities of our people and our communities. We are not tacos. Let's see here what Marco Rubio had to say. Oh, yeah, that's what Marco Rubio had to say. New profile picture, the taco. You know, the Bidens have been racist for years. I mean, the clips of Joe Biden and his racist rants back in the day have been there for years. And thank God our friend Alejandro with Outkick decided to post this, because you're really not going to see this anywhere else. You know this. You're not going to see this on NBC, ABC, CBS. You're not going to see this anywhere. Rather than uniting the nation over a universal hatred for the term Latinx, the Biden administration continues to peddle empty virtual signaling and recycling catchphrases to keep a base of traditional Democratic voters for sliding out of love with the political party. See, here's what I've always thought about pandering. And this is what I've always thought about politicians that do that. Politicians that do that, like Jill Biden and Joe Biden, they just think you're really stupid. They think if we talk about the grassy fields and how supper at mom's place, they think you're all idiots, or we're all idiots. And when I saw Joe Biden speak for the first time and I compared him with Trump, I thought, man, both are dirtbags, but at least one can speak about stuff. The other, remember Biden's long, dark summer when you're sitting at the table and someone's not there? Or long, dark winter, and aren't we tired of that? That's why I love doing this show, because I got tired of it. I mean, what was I going to do at ESPN? Well, you know, Brad Davison dribbling down. Yeah, he curled off a screen, caught it, and shot. I got tired of that. I want to have conversations like this. Stop believing the stupid-ass pandering. As recently as June, President Biden's approval rating among Hispanics tracked in the low 20s. He got a 22% approval rating. Now, with all due respect, who the hell are the 22% and why are you so stupid? 26% of all people buy this clown. Who are you 26%? Who are you 22%? I mean, if you can't see through these people, I don't know what to tell you. Seriously. How in the hell do you not see through these people? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I don't get how you can sit there, look at these folks, and listen to them, and not, maybe I have x-ray vision. Do I have x-ray vision? I think I have x-ray vision. I think I have x-ray vision. I do. Because I can see through that crap. I've been seeing through that crap since I was able to think. I mean, what are we doing? Come on. I see through all the crap. I'll show you another thing I see through. Hey, can you show that tweet from Jeremy Fowler? The best quarterbacks. We asked 50 executive coaches and scouts to rank the top 10. And there was no Lamar Jackson. There was no Dak Prescott, and there was no Kyler Murray. Of course there's no Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray. Of course there's none of them. They're not in the top 20. Well, maybe top 20. But the truth of the matter is, no Lamar Jackson, that's just dumb. I'm sorry, that's just dumb. And look, to take out a guy in the top 10 and put Lamar Jackson in, that's tough. You can make a case for everyone. But this is why you listen to this show. I'm not, well, here's the top 10. I'm giving you the ambient quarterbacks. And the number one ambient quarterback in the NFL is Lamar Jackson. I don't care what anybody says. And it will not surprise me even a little bit. I mean, even a skosh if Lamar Jackson isn't the MVP again. Dak Prescott, if you want to learn about Dak Prescott, you know what you do? You turn on Get Up. They'll talk about Dak Prescott and Kevin Durant today, tomorrow, the next day. They just will. Don't give me Deshaun Watson. I watched Deshaun Watson. I got 2 words for Deshaun Watson. My backside. That's what I got for Deshaun Watson. Joe Burrow hadn't done it long enough. He hasn't. What do you want me to tell you? Now, do it for another year? You're an Ambien guy. I get it. Joe Burrow's great. Look, just because you're not in my top 5 Ambien guys doesn't mean that you're not great. You're great. You're great. Matt Hannon, let me go back to found money. Matt Hannon says, I won $5K in my fantasy football league. Found $336 in a wallet outside the blood bank in West Palm Beach. Returned the wallet and money to the owner, got a $50 reward and some fresh baked chocolate cookies. That's right. That ain't bad. I ain't mad about it. What's the most money you ever found? I found my wallet the other day that had been missing for a year. A year, ladies and gentlemen. And there was about $90 in it. Let me jump around and go back to Lamar Jackson. You know who has the most quarterback wins before turning 25? Lamar Jackson, 37 wins. Dan Marino, 34. Drew Bledsoe, 32. You guys are sleeping on Lamar Jackson, and I'm not happy with you. Look, don't make me come across this room and throw hands, because Lamar Jackson is the #1 Ambien quarterback. He keeps coordinators up at night. He thinks you think about him. You never stop thinking about him. You can't stop thinking about him. And away you go. Dan, did I black out or did we go from tacos to Lamar Jackson so fast? We went fast. This show moves, baby. Yeah. Yeah, we did. Look, I can't speak forever on the stupidity of the Biden family. I've got to get out of it. It makes me feel dirty to even talk about these folks. I mean, it really does. It makes me feel dirty to even talk about the Biden people. And it should make you, if you voted for these clowns, it should make you embarrassed that you did. You want me to jump around some more? It is now 10:23. I'm going to go to Twitter. You will not see anything. Zero from the Indianapolis Star. Zero. Nothing from the Indianapolis Star commenting on what happened yesterday with them being exposed that Joe Biden is the story of a 10-year-old little girl being raped and having to go from Ohio to Indiana is fake. You won't see anything. You won't see a thing about it. And when I say a thing, I'm looking. I'm looking at the Star. I don't see, hey, look, we're checking into this. No. Well, you know what I see? The work is expected to last. I see from our sports writer, Greg Doyle, who talks about all the political stuff. He wrote a nice little article about his cat dying. Okay. Aw. Aw. Another guy, a guy named Shear, he wrote an article about what's the best hot sauce. Robert Shear, a visual journalist, he's got an article about hot sauce. That's what we do. We write about hot sauce. That's the level the Indianapolis Star should stay with. Writing about hot sauce from Robert Shear, a photojournalist. Means he takes pictures of what other people are doing. Hadn't done squat in his life, but he's a photojournalist. But he's got a nice article on hot sauces at Taco Bell. That's what the Indy Star should do. That's all the Indy Star should involve itself in. That's it. Taco Bell hot sauce power rankings. There you go. That's what the Indy Star should be about. And only that. Now, they won't apologize. They don't have to apologize. Well, they got to apologize. They just screwed up something that now lets the world know that, you know what? You can't believe anything they say. Guy on here says, who makes fun of a dude whose longtime pet dies? Yeah, I don't. I'm just saying, do we got to have an article in the sports section? My pet died. Oh. Okay. Dan, you just talked about Jill Biden and tacos. Give me a break. Well, I'm the only one that, should. There are always people on these YouTube chats, no matter what I say. My cat died. I'm writing an article. That's what the Star should do. That's what they should be about. They should leave serious matters to people that tell the truth and are unbiased. You won't read about it, but you know from now on. The entire nation knows. The entire nation, from the president on up, because the president ain't up here, from the president on up to all of us, we know that when you read an article in the Indy Star, it's complete BS. I've said for years, they've tried to paint me as a guy. I said, hey, Dana, whatever your name is, I'll give you $10,000 if you can name the person you accuse me of calling a meth head. This last one is all kinds of stupid. This last one is amazing. U.S. tourist dies or injured after taking a selfie and fell into Mount Vesuvius, into the crater. He was trying to retrieve his mobile phone, and he fell into the crater of Mount Vesuvius as he scrambled to get the phone. Now, they reached the 4,202-foot summit of the volcano. Now, it's in Naples, not Florida. And they bypassed a visitor turnstile and proceeded along an out-of-bounds path. Dude went to take a selfie. Phone slipped out of his hand into the mouth of the volcano. He descended into the crater in an attempt to get his phone back. He fell a few meters. Of course, the Vesuvius guides had to then dig this idiot out, because that's what happens. We all have to cover up for jackasses. That should be a What the Hell Wednesday, but I thought I would share it now. All right, hopefully we got Warren Sharp coming up here at 10:30. And if we do, you're going to read about a book that's over 500 pages long that he wrote. Why did he write a book that big about NFL football? Because he knows more about it than anybody else. Stay right here. Look, I contend that my next guest is the smartest man talking football that there is. I first learned about Warren Sharp when he exposed the, what's the right word, the stupidity of Chuck Pagano and his play calling back a few years ago, where every time he was in a certain set, they literally 100% of the time ran the ball. And Warren joins us now. Hey, you are the smartest man, and the smartest man needs to write the biggest book. You got a book that's 564 pages of brilliance out. Talk about it if you don't mind.
Yeah, I just published it. It just came out yesterday. It's 3 months in the making. It takes a long time to write that many words, but basically in the past, Dan, I was writing 250, 300 words. And I just said, why am I stopping? I was trying to put a limit on it. I just said, let me just write as much information that I can research about each team. So I've written 32 chapters, one on every single team. There's some stuff at the front that helps explain some predictions and overarching thoughts in the future where I see this league headed. But in general, it's a lot of work, but I have access to more data. I keep buying. This is my problem, Dan. I buy more data. I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars acquiring new data every single year. And that allows me to research more and analyze more. And I'm just a fiend for it.
Well, buy his damn book. He's got bills to pay to give you guys information. And I just put it out on our YouTube. Hey, let's go through this. You mentioned where the league is heading. Where is the league headed?
I think it's still headed towards the passing attack. I think it's still a balanced and controlled passing game. That being said, I think the biggest thing is that it comes down to smart coaching. It always does. You have example, for instance, Arthur Smith leaves the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee, in your division of the Colts, has Derrick Henry. They run the ball a ton. And they had the number one highest run rate on first downs in Tennessee. And you thought, okay, well, that's probably likely because of Derrick Henry. All of a sudden, Arthur Smith leaves there, goes and takes over the Atlanta Falcons job as head coach. This was a team that could not run the football whatsoever on first down, second down. They were terrible running. They don't have a run blocking offensive line in Atlanta. They don't have a bruising running back anywhere close to Derrick Henry. And so you would assume that a coach like Arthur Smith would start passing the football. No. You know who had the number one highest run rate in the NFL last year on first downs? It was still the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry. But you know who vaulted from number 31 all the way to number 2? It was the Atlanta Falcons, led by their head coach, Arthur Smith. This team was terrible running the football last year on first downs, but they did it at the second highest rate. This guy just wanted to bring his philosophy to a different team despite having different players and not knowing what to do. And they were obviously very terrible doing so. So what it comes down to me, Dan, is intelligent coaching that can analyze things. And this really hasn't changed. I mean, the rules have changed. You need to be passing the football more because it is more efficient. But the rules still allow for coaches to be as intelligent as just be smarter than the next guy in the room. Just try to figure out a new strategy, adapt your philosophy to your players. And I think there are too many coaches around the league that still struggle to do that. And those that are adaptive and do understand the right way to play football, which is to throw the ball early, to avoid third downs, to try to score points in the first half so that you're playing with a lead in the second half. All of those things are still what's won in football 5 years ago, and it's what's winning football in 2022 as well.
Let me go to, who do you think are the smartest coaches, particularly smartest play callers?
Oh, wow. There's a few that I really like. I could start with Sean McVay. I think he's a very smart play caller. His designs offensively are very kind of cutting edge. I also like, I think that this guy has taken a slight step back, and I was a little bit more impressed with them in 2020 when he won Coach of the Year. But I do like Kevin Stefanski in general. I was very perplexed by what he was doing with Baker Mayfield last season when Baker was injured. I thought that they were calling things a little bit less EV. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does now that, we'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson, but he's got a lot on his plate to try to figure out who his quarterback's going to be and play to their strengths. But I think in 2020 really showcased a coach who had a quarterback with limitations in Baker Mayfield, that he was putting that player in the best positions possible. And so they had a very high upside. I think you're going to have a massive leap in coaching edge this year from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson down in Jacksonville. That is going to be a measured and calculated difference. And I think what not as enough people realize is that Trevor Lawrence actually was not that bad on first downs last year. It was just after that point in time, this offense was horrendous. Second downs, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the entire league on second down. And they spent a lot of money in the offseason. And as you know, Dan, I'm not a big proponent of doing that. But what we do see is, generally speaking, a bump the year after that happens. And then it's years 2 and years 3 where all that spending starts to catch up with you. So I think the Jaguars are going to be a better team top to bottom, and certainly a more well-coached team this upcoming season. But I mean, Andy Reid is obviously near the top of the list. If you're going to ask me who's one of the best play callers in the NFL, he understands the way to win football games, and he's always making life easy on his quarterback. And that's one of the biggest things to impress your audience, is that you can have any level of quarterback you want, from one of the worst in the NFL to one of the best in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes. But if you are arguably trying to do everything in your power as a play caller and a designer of your offense to make life easy on that quarterback, to not put too much on his plate, you're going to find that your offense has a lot more success. And Andy Reid could have Patrick Mahomes drop back all the time and just try to throw the ball deep and just work his magic with his talented arm and running all around the place. He does that enough. But the reality is they have a very low ADOT. They've got a very controlled passing attack on first down. They understand how to make life easier on the quarterback and get a lot of yards after the catch. That's also something that Kyle Shanahan does very well out with the San Francisco 49ers when he had some quarterback limitations with Jimmy G.
Is it possible, because you do things very analytic, you study everything, and like I said, man, you've got over 560 pages of information previewing the season. Is it possible to get any type gauge on where Deshaun Watson, if he plays, let's just assume he plays, on how Deshaun Watson will play and how he will fit in with Kevin Stefanski?
Well, let's pretend that we get the same exact Deshaun Watson that we saw the last time that he stepped on the field for the Houston Texans. Now, that Houston Texans team was obviously terrible, and they overhauled their coaching staff after the season. However, I don't think people realize how brilliant of a quarterback. We're not talking about the person. We're not talking about off the field. Just what he did on the field the last time that he stepped out there as an NFL quarterback. This team would have been a total disaster, but not for Deshaun Watson. If you look at all of his metrics in terms of his ability to deliver under pressure, his ability to move in the pocket. That offensive line for years, Dan, was horrendous. You know this from being a Colts fan and being in their same division. Like, that Texans offensive line was one of the worst in the NFL. And Deshaun Watson carried that team through a lot of different problems. They were going to the postseason frequently when he was there. And the last season, where they obviously were terrible, that was not actually because of Deshaun Watson. All of his top receivers were getting injured. Looking back at his metrics, obviously I am a consultant for a few different teams out there, and some of those teams were asking me to evaluate him, go back and look at his tape for the offseason. Obviously, I'm not like a investigator or a detective looking at like what those cases consisted of, but just what he did on the field the last time he was out there. How good was he? And, it's evident that he was amazing. So what will that mean for Kevin Stefanski? Well, again, I go back to what I said earlier, which is, how much does Kevin Stefanski tweak and tailor his offense to Deshaun Watson's strengths? But the fact of the matter is, his talent level is so much better than that of Baker Mayfield or any other quarterbacks that Kevin Stefanski has been working with over the last couple of years, that it should be quite easy. And I think that they should be using a little bit more 12 personnel, in fact, there. But the offensive line improvement of the Cleveland Browns versus what Watson has been accustomed to in Houston is night and day. And that alone is going to help this passing attack deliver at an extremely high level when he's in there.
Well, because I live in Indy, and there's always this debate about Frank Reich. Where are you at with Frank Reich and the Colts?
Frank Reich is able to design an offense that is one of the best in the NFL on first drives of the game. Like they've scored more touchdowns than any other team has over the last 2 years on opening drives. And so I like Frank Reich as a play caller. I like Frank Reich as a designer of offense. If I'm going to say something negative about Frank, it's going to be, I'm not sure what happens at the beginning of the season, but the first 6 weeks of the season, his team is terrible every single year, and then they turn it on after that. And if they can figure out how to come out the gates stronger at the start of the season, the first month of the season, this team obviously can be a contender year in and year out. And of course, they are a good team every single year. Like the floor is very high for the Indianapolis Colts, even this season. I think one of the problems with their slow starts has been this rotating cast of quarterbacks. Every year they're bringing in a different quarterback. And I think in part, they know that they need a quarterback in order to get where they want to go, which is to win a Super Bowl. So not trying to waste time muddling around. And if the last guy that they had isn't the right guy, then they need to move on from him. And of course, they've been dealt a difficult hand with Andrew Luck not being there when Frank first took over in year 2. And so they had to go to Jacoby Brissett. And then, of course, we had him retire, and they got Phillip Rivers in there, and then obviously Carson Wentz. I think one of the interesting factors here, Dan, for this upcoming season for the Colts is the change from Matt Ryan when he replaces Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz, interestingly, is the worst quarterback over the last 2 years, minimum of at least 600 attempts in accuracy. He is terrible in terms of his quarterback accuracy. Forget the decision-making and all the bumbling mistakes he made on third downs, down in the red zone, in the fourth quarter of games where he seemed to clutch up and take sacks and fumble the ball or throw interceptions. Let's just talk about his accuracy in general. It's the worst in the NFL over the last 2 years. And you go from him to Matt Ryan, who has one of the best accuracies in the NFL. Matt Ryan has been protected by a very bad offensive line. We talked about how the Falcons couldn't run the ball. Well, in large part, that's because their O-line is not good whatsoever, and it hasn't been for several years. So Matt Ryan has been playing behind a bad O-line without great wide receiver weapons. They still are lacking in wide receiver talent, especially at the upside end, as well as depth in Indy. But the difference that Matt Ryan, in my opinion, is going to make over Carson Wentz will be measurable.
So you like Ryan? You think Ryan's good enough?
I think Ryan's good enough. I still think that this team, is playing in a very difficult AFC conference. I think that they should be able to have some success in the AFC South because Tennessee's been overachieving for years, and this team is bound to stop winning as many one-score games. I think they're like 13-3 or something ridiculous in one-score games over the last couple of years. That has to regress a little bit, but they're just a very sound, fundamental team. But in order for the Colts to have success this season, Matt Ryan's going to give them a higher ceiling than they had last year, that's for sure. And they need better health because they had some injuries last year. But the key is going to be figure out a way to beat Tennessee because your record against Tennessee has not been good. Figure out a way to win in Jacksonville because you haven't won in Jacksonville for years. Figure out a way to win week 1 of the season because your week 1 games, I think you're like 0-14 or 0-13 in week 1 games. Like this team is beyond Frank Reich. This team has been terrible in week 1s, the worst record in the NFL. On week 1 games, and then figure out a way to just be better at the beginning of the season. We know it's a new quarterback, so that problem hasn't changed. Every year, Frank is dealing with a new quarterback. So we know that, and it's July now. Figure it out over the next couple of months so that we're not dropping games at the beginning of the season. Try to anticipate what adjustments might need to be made and make those before the season starts so that you're not starting off slowly. And if you can do those things, I mean, this team with Matt Ryan, I think, is a playoff contender, should be able to win the AFC South. I know that may not be saying much, but it's a 2-horse race in that division, and they should be able to take it from the Titans this year if Matt Ryan plays well and the team starts off faster. And then as a total, crapshoot in the postseason because so many of these teams in the AFC are great. I do not view the Indianapolis Colts as a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year just because there's too much talent amongst some of the other teams. But if anybody stands a chance to win the Super Bowl, they have to get to the playoffs first and then just try to get lucky therein. And I think that the Colts should be able to get to the playoffs.
What play callers or what coaches do you have no confidence in?
Yeah, fortunately, some of them have been fired. I mean, the operation that they were running in Chicago was the worst I have seen in years. The way that they introduced Justin Fields to the NFL in week 3 against the Cleveland Browns last year was a total disaster. That being said, we don't know about their current coaching staff. Matt Eberflus takes things over. And I always do worry a little bit about when a defensive-minded coach takes the reins for a football team. We know that this team had so many needs on the offensive side of the football heading into the season. And they spent their first few draft picks on the defensive side of the ball because their head coach is a defensive-minded guy. Now, it's not like their defense was great. They needed help there too, but it just shows me the philosophy that like he wants his defense to look good. And so from that respect, I think they're going to call plays on offense to try to just burn clock and keep their defense rested and make sure that the defense is looking good. And this team, as it's currently constructed around Justin Fields, they have the least expensive offense in the entire NFL in terms of cap hit for 2022. And when you have the least expensive offense with a rookie quarterback, your quarterback room should be cheap because you're starting a quarterback on a rookie deal. Those are the best deals possible. But when a quarterback is on his rookie deal, this is the prime time to then bring in a ton of talent and build up your support system around him to have success. And we look at the LA Chargers, and I'll talk about their offensive coordinator in a second, but we talk about the LA Chargers and what they did this offseason to support Justin Herbert, and what the Baltimore Ravens have done in the past to try to build and support Lamar Jackson. A lot of these quarterbacks on these rookie deals, they have been building up to support those guys, and that hasn't occurred in Chicago. I think the Bears are in for a very difficult season, even though I think the Packers are going to take a step backwards towards the pack a little bit more. I'm more bullish on the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC North, and I think the competition in general is not quite as good, but the Bears are really going to struggle. And then if we talk about coaching, this is what I wrote in my book about the Chargers. This is the most talented team in the NFL, in my opinion. What they did this offseason to shore up some of the problem areas against the run or filling out some of the other positions of need, including the offensive line in the draft, has been remarkable from their GM. The only thing that is going to derail this team from winning a Super Bowl, in my mind, is injuries, which you can't predict, and who knows what's going to happen there, but they do have a bad track record of getting hurt, and coaching. And by coaching, what I mean is their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi, is one of the most perplexing coordinators in the NFL. You have an uber talented quarterback. I'll admit, I didn't think Justin Herbert was going to look like he does now when he came out of school. And he is absolutely incredible. He's a prodigy, legitimate quarterback prodigy. His arm talent is incredible. And yet they have one of the 3 lowest ADOTs, targets of depth, on early downs in the NFL. And Joe Lombardi came from the New Orleans Saints. And what was it that the Saints were dealing with? They were dealing with Drew Brees, who was on his last legs, the last fumes there, and they were throwing short all the time. And just like Arthur Smith brought, we ran the ball a lot, so I'm just going to bring that to the Falcons, even though we have a totally different team. You now go from Drew Brees to Justin Herbert. Night and day where these guys were in their careers, night and day difference in arm talent and arm strength. And yet they're getting Justin Herbert to throw the ball short. They need to open up this offense a ton. And I really wrote a lot about my disappointment in what they were doing last season. If they can turn that around, they'll have success. But, I have my questions as to whether or not they'll notice their problems. They'll be as in tune to self-study what they were doing wrong and improve that for this upcoming season.
What do you like about the Vikings? You mentioned them.
Yeah, I think the Vikings went from, obviously, I'm more of an analytic-minded guy, so this may not surprise you, Dan, but I think that the Minnesota Vikings have a big upgrade because they're no longer a run-first conservative team with Mike Zimmer not being there any longer. We know this coaching staff, all the players have already said, we're going to be throwing the ball around a lot more this season, and that's going to help everybody on that roster, both offensively and defensively. And I know Mike Zimmer obviously disagrees, and he thinks, well, you got to run the ball, control the clock, keep your defense rested, and then try to convert on third downs when you need to and move the ball down the field. But that's cause for error. That gives a lot more problems. That's going to put you in a lot more third down situations when you're so conservative on first and second down. And when you're in third down situations, as you know, any one little thing that could go wrong, means a kick. Whether you're punting or kicking a field goal, most of the time, if you mess up on third down, you're going to have to give the ball back to the other team on fourth down. And that's why what I advise teams and what has been proven is that the best way to win football games is to avoid third downs entirely. Try to convert first downs on first and second down. And with them passing the ball a lot more, it's going to put Kirk Cousins in better situations. Kirk Cousins actually has delivered pretty good season the last couple of years, but just gets overlooked because he's not throwing the ball a ton and because of the overall offense that he's in, and the team's just not winning enough games. But I think if they get out to leads a little bit better, it's going to make life easier on the defense too in that second half, because when you're up at halftime, when you move the ball down the field, you're avoiding third downs and you're scoring more points. And this offense, top to bottom, is decent. I mean, their wide receiving core is great. They've got a very good running back. Kirk Cousins is an average at worst quarterback in the league, above average in many other categories when you look at efficiencies of quarterbacks. And that's good enough to have some success here. Make life easier on your O-line by not throwing the ball in predictable situations. Build that lead at halftime. And when you do that in the second half, now your defense can pin their ears back because they know that the other team is going to have to try to throw the ball more to get into the game. Play calling becomes more predictable for that opposing offense. And so life's easier on your defense. And I think the Vikings are just going to be better this year. I think they have an outside shot to win the NFC North. And I think this team is a legitimate playoff contender.
Hey, last thing before I let you go, we haven't talked about, in terms of coaching, where you see Belichick now. And we haven't talked about the Pats. What do you think?
I think Bill Belichick is one of the best coaches in the league still, but he has fallen off a little bit, and I'm not quite sure why. Is it because Ernie Adams hasn't been as involved as he once was? I'm not quite sure, but this team has fallen to the back of the pack in terms of aggressiveness on fourth downs. I'm interested to see. It might be understandable because you're dealing with Cam Newton in 2020, and then you're dealing with a rookie last season. And so what I need to see from him to ensure that he's back on the right path here in terms of Belichick is that they go for it more in the right situations to go for it on fourth down. They were in plus EV situations to go for it last year, and they were punting the football. So go for it a little bit more. But my main concern is what is going on there on the offensive side of the ball. It's so important when you have a rookie quarterback to help give this guy the weapons that you need to, and to help caress him and just develop him to be an NFL quarterback. And Josh McDaniels obviously left. Now he is coaching out on the West Coast. And so we are dealing with the situation in Vegas. Now we are dealing with the situation where they don't know who is going to be calling plays on the offensive side of the ball. And there's some haphazard competition between some failed coaches around the league, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, as to who's going to call plays for that team. And that doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence. And the other thing that concerns me a little bit about the Patriots this year is they spent like gangbusters, something they have never done before in free agency before the 2021 season. Belichick saw Brady win a Super Bowl in the 2020 season. He spent like a madman in free agency last year. All those guys had low cap hits year one, guys like Nelson Aguilar and some of the other guys they signed like Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Every single one of those players, their cap hit over doubles this upcoming season. Now these players are worth a ton to the cap, and as a result, they lost both starting offensive guards, they lost their number one cover cornerback, and they lost other players that were big contributors because they couldn't afford them because of all these free agents that they brought in. So I don't really know what we're going to get out of the overall roster. It's not as talented as it's been from top to bottom in years past, and they don't have an offense coordinator. That said, I actually kind of like Mac Jones, and I still think that they're going to be a dangerous team this year.
Hey, last thing, a couple minutes. Where can people find the book, Warren?
Just head over to sharpfootballanalysis.com. I literally spent over 3 months writing and researching this thing. I've got nuggets that you will not find on every single team. And I think it's going to open your eyes to what you'll expect to see from these teams this upcoming season. Whether you play fantasy football, you're going to find a lot of stuff in there. Whether you want to bet on some of these games, you're going to find a lot of information there. And even if you're just a fan, you're going to find information that's going to teach you about the game, teach you things about your favorite team and the teams that you hate that you didn't know before. And it's a great use of your summer as we get closer to NFL training camp here at the end of July.
I always say at Sharp Football, man, if you want to know what's really happening in the NFL, I've said this for years, at Sharp Football. Warren, thanks for the time, man. It's great stuff. We're going to keep hitting that book because I know it's awesome. Thank you, Warren.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan.
It's my pleasure. That's Warren Sharp at Sharp Football. It's terrific. And Warren Sharp's book has got to be just as good. If you want to know what's really happening in the NFL, what percentages of your team being in a certain coverage or what, he did it with Chuck Pagano and it was unbelievable. It was like every time the Colts ran two tight ends, they ran the football 100% of the time. Like, whoa, stuff like that fascinates me. And Warren is just the best that there is at Sharp Football, and go and grab Warren's book. And it was nice enough for him to take a few minutes and come on. We had a monster today. Tomorrow, the Open Championship gets going on Thursday. And my boy, that's right, Ryan Burr is going to join us to break it all down. We had a great day today. That was fantastic. Thanks to all of you that joined us over on the YouTube chat. You guys, numbers have been great over there. You guys are rocking and rolling. I'm sorry I didn't get to argue with you a little bit more, but we were going through some news stories today. Of course, Ryan and Dylan and Davey and everybody behind the scenes always do a fantastic job making this show. This show's coming, man. This show is coming. If you don't mind, I appreciate a couple guys who have already gone out and retweeted. Kevin Kelly, Coach Kelly, thank you for that. Much appreciated. Kevin says that he couldn't agree more with Coach Warren Sharp on the Chargers and the Vikings. Jay Jefferson, D. Cook benefit huge. Jefferson stats and Cook health with more open field runs. QB needs more intermediate throws, many, many more. That's Coach Kevin Kelly. I don't know, is that the Kevin Kelly that played football at Indiana? I don't know, and used to run with Walter Payton. I could be wrong, but Kevin, thanks a lot for paying attention. Of course, my friend the Cash Man always says very good. Warren Sharp Football, very good with Dan Dockich right now. Jeff Burrows, thank you for it as well. Look, we appreciate everybody for paying attention to our show today. We really do. And I don't take it lightly. We're trying to build this into the go-to place in the morning for all of your entertainment, your politics, and your sports. It's how we roll here at Outkick. But again, thanks to everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I will be on at noon, from noon to 3 at 107.5 The Fan. Again, we'll be back right here tomorrow ladies and gentlemen, don't at me, 9-11, Monday through Thursday. But remember, August, we're going Monday through Friday. They got to make me earn my money. Stay right here for all your sports news and, of course, politics. Go to Outkick.com. Dockich is out.